for men. Hey, by the way, sexual purity is a topic. When I'm talking about the spectrum, what did you say? Local officials. What did you say? Chapter? Chastity. And then there's chastity for women. So it's both. You had more. Wait a minute. The single something. Yeah, but she's an author. So please will come out.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for. Please, can we clap for Dr. Lindsay? A quick. I've been in Kenya for 2 weeks plus, and it's actually my first time of meeting Dr. Lindsay, but it doesn't seem like it. She's a part of some women that God just gifted us, and we've been having some works in Kenya. So I'm glad to be here. I'm a woman of many parts, and as I was sitting there, this is actually my habitat. I run a youth organization called AYC Africa, Awakening Youthful Seeds for Christ Initiative. And the reason why we started AYC Africa, please don't be distracted. The reason why we started AYC Africa is interwoven with my story. I don't have a lot of time to share intricately, but suffice it to say that at less than 18 years old, at about 18 years old, I was in the university studying law. I was a 300 level law student. Now this is 2011. I'm speaking with Bonte or something, and he was asking me, what's your name? Kevin. And he was asking me if I'm a undergraduate law student or something. I left university almost 10 years ago now. Yeah. So this was like 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago actually. I was 17 going on 18, and I didn't have joy. I couldn't laugh when my classmates were laughing. I didn't think I had anything good in me to offer. Yes, I was in school. Yes, my grades were doing well, but on the inside of me, I was this broken girl and who had 2 abortions in the relationship she was in, and I didn't think God would even have somebody like me. I was literally at my lowest of low, right? And my entire life changed one night. And I want to share something with you that's not the regular topic, but in the years of doing youth and teenage, teen girls and young people work, it has changed lots of lives. I was at Nakuru, and I just sat down to have talk with the young people. And literally, God helped us. It wasn't a projector kind of meeting. I just spoke from my heart. So I was that girl. In university that looked good on the outside, but on the inside I was crumbling. So I hear your offices, I hear your president and that's great. But so many young people carry brokenness on the inside. And it doesn't have anything to do with your grades. It doesn't have anything to do with whatever you are elected to. Nothing at all to do with that. But just that on the inside of you, you are empty. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you are here for. Your life doesn't have any meaning. You walk around with a lot of confusion, lack of clarity. You don't know who you are, essentially. And I was there. It got to the point where I didn't even think that I had anything good in me to offer. I didn't contemplate suicide, but I did not think I had anything good in me to offer. And my entire life changed. I've had a lot of encounters in my life. Like, I've had a lot of, and I'm going to say it as it is, God encountering me. I don't know if there are atheists in the room, agnostic in the room, men of other faith in the room. I'm just going to share with you what has changed my life. I've had those encounters of God encountering me, and I'll share just 2, hoping that it's going to help you. When I speak, I like to say that even when I'm done, the impact of what I've said would be the conversations you continue having with yourself later on. So I speak in places and I tell them, years later, you will look for me on Facebook and you will send me messages. That's the impact. So that night, 17 years old, I was sitting in front of my then boyfriend and we were having an argument. Can you guess what the argument was about? Can anybody guess? You seem like you know. The lady in white. So we're having an argument, and we're having an argument about, I'd found a text message on his phone of another girl who said she was pregnant. And he had said his friend was the one who sent the message to his girlfriend. So as Hephzibah, the detective that I am, I took the girl's number, and then I called her, pretending to be someone else, and then she confirmed that she was my boyfriend's girlfriend, and then my then boyfriend found the text message, and that was what we were arguing about. Because he said, I told you not to reach out to her, and you reached out to her, and then all of a sudden, the stupidity and foolishness of my situation dawned on me. Because I'm thinking, girl, you're less than 18 years old. What the heck are you doing in this place? What exactly is going on? And then I started thinking, is this all there is to life? Someone asked about relationships. Is this all there is to life? It's life just about being in a relationship with someone, going to school, having a degree, going through whatever it is that we're going through. Is this really all there is to life? And so my heart was really hungry for something that I couldn't even put in words. There are some times where I describe a lot of situations. You are confused, there's a lot of brokenness on the inside of you. And if I sit with you in a counseling session and I ask you, what do you want? Sometimes you may not be able to really put into words what you want. But the entirety of my questions was, there has to be more to life than this. I'm not disregarding your degree. I'm a lawyer, called to the Nigerian bar. I went to school for 6 years plus 1 year NYSC, 7 years of my life. And I still use the degree by God's grace. So I'm not disregarding or putting aside what you are studying for. But there's more. So that night was the first encounter I ever had with God. So I sat in front of my then boyfriend, and my mind just was hungry and saying, this cannot be my life. This cannot be all there is to life. So I sat on the floor and I said, I turned my attention to God. Now I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing what Jeremiah 29 says. It says that you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. All of my heart was seeking God. I'd always gone to church, but I wasn't a believer. I just gone to church, but I really didn't know God. But that night, I was crying, like I had tears, catarrh running down my nose. And the content of my cry was, God, you have to speak to me this night. You have to tell me this night if you want me to be in this relationship. And I feel like I'm sharing this because some of you are in very bad relationships. That's why God is having me share this story with you. Some of you are in very, what's the word? Toxic relationships. I know nobody knows. I lied to everybody around me that we were not in a relationship. So I know I'm sharing this because that's someone's story right now. And I said, if you want me to be in this relationship, tell me this night. If you do not want me to be in this relationship, I didn't even know God could speak to people. What possessed me to pray that prayer must have been the Holy Spirit, because I did not even know. I'd never heard his voice before. I've never had an encounter with God like that before. And guess what happened? I'm sitting there crying and just praying. My boyfriend is talking behind me. Bad situation. And all of a sudden, I felt what I now call the love blanket arms of God. Tangibly, like someone hugged me from behind. And in that hug, what I felt was acceptance, What I remember, I said I had 2 abortions. I've had 2 abortions. Now, the reason why I share my story openly is because a lot of young people are either in those situations or have passed through those situations. So when I speak to young people, I don't clothe up, I don't cover up, I don't speak theory. I speak to you as somebody who has been through whatever journey that you are currently going on right now, or you are going on, that's going to affect your future. So I never even thought that God could accept me. But in that arms, I felt, this was July 2011, I felt the love of God. I felt the acceptance of God. And I didn't hear a voice, but all of a sudden, I stood up with strength and went back to my hostel. And by the next morning when I woke up with a raving hunger for Jesus. It was almost as though what I was looking for in a physical relationship, God took it and turned it around and placed it as a focus on Him. Now, how did that change my life? Because the second thing I want to speak to you about is about purpose. Remember my question, is there more to life? Remember that question? Is there more? Is there more than the certificate I'm getting? Is there more than the relationship I'm in? Is there more than having a boyfriend or girlfriend? I used to say this. I used to say that people, the earth has a system, and the system is you get born, go to, in Nigeria, I say primary school, we say high school, we say university, we say NYC, you get married, you give birth to children, get a job, and die. So, that's the system of the world. There's no meaning to it. There's no purpose to it. There's no, what exactly am I doing? People really stop to ask themselves those questions. But I was forced to ask those questions because I was really in a meaningless state of life. So what happened after then? After that, I used to have this gift of writing when I was in high school, what you call your high school. After giving my life to Christ and encountering God that night, apart from a raving hunger for Jesus, this is what happened. My writing gift came alive. So I was this law student in law school who, when a lecturer is teaching us in class, I will have this burst of ideas. And I will take my notes, scroll to the back, write full articles while the lecturer is lecturing. Literally. I will have this, just burst of ideas to write. And then when we graduated in 2013, I stumbled also reading blogs. And as I would read those blogs, I would say, I can do that. Destiny, what do you call destiny? Like, what am I made for? It's on the inside of you. And there are things that will happen that will call it out. Some of you here, you are called to maybe communications. And you see someone on TV, and you're like, something on the inside of you says, I can do that. And it has nothing to do with personality, temperament, whatever. I can do that. So I opened a blog in 2013 and I started writing. And from writing a blog, I started writing on online magazines. There's an online magazine called Bella Nigeria in Nigeria, very popular. I don't know if anybody reads it here. I started writing there. People started sending me emails. People started reading my blog, UK, US, Ghana, Gambia, everywhere. And I'm thinking, this same girl who didn't think she had anything on the inside of her, how come, people started saying, I'm like, what's going on here? I didn't even think I had anything on the inside of me. From writing the blog, someone sent me an email one time because I then became very passionate about purpose and God's calling for our lives, because there was what I had found I was missing. I was missing, what has God really called me to do? What am I meant to do on the earth? What's my contribution? So I started writing, and I was reading this email by a particular young lady asking me about purpose. And then as I was replying to her, God said, that is a book. Now, embedded within my story is a lot of the voice of the Lord, a lot of God's voice, right? After meeting him that night, I think the best thing I can say has ever happened to me in my life has been God's direction. God's direction is really Kenya right now. By the way, another part of me is I'm actually a missionary. I don't know if you've ever seen a modern day missionary, but I'm one of them. So we go to nations, God sends us to nations and opens the doors for us to speak to people of other countries. This same girl who didn't think she had anything in her. God says that's a book, and then I wrote the book. He said you release it at a convergence of secondary schools. We did that, and then the next thing was invite your blog subscribers for a hangout. I invited them, we had a meeting. I'm saying bye, they're saying when is the next meeting, and then that gave birth to a ministry, and then the ministry gave birth to another ministry, the Deborah Generation. That one book gave birth to another book gave birth to another book, and now I think maybe I've written 15 or more books, and not just any book, books that literally bless lives. I'm leaving from here to Tanzania, and I was telling her yesterday, I said the lady who's helping us plan the meeting at Tanzania actually met me from reading my book. What am I saying? I'm saying that God has put something on the inside of you that has the capacity to touch nations. If we had time, I would have said, close your eyes for a minute and imagine, literally imagine your life connected to different lives way bigger than where you are right now. And so if you're sitting there and you're having all that confusion, what am I meant to do? What am I called to do? I'd say that it starts with an encounter with God. My life didn't change until I turned my eyes to God. And it was a messy situation. So also, if you are here and you have those messy situations in your life, those situations you can't tell anybody. Those situations you can't tell anyone. I used to go for meetings. We had a fellowship then in university, and I would say, I want to ask a question about me. I'll say, if you had this friend that is in this situation, what would you say to her? What would you tell? Those messy situations you're ashamed of, that you can't tell anyone. I have a book called Chastity for Men, because I found out that a lot of young men are addicted to pornography and masturbation, and they can't tell anyone. They cannot tell anyone. And we have a lot of young ladies. The relationship I was in there, my boyfriend actually slapped me once. It was abusive, both physically once, both psychologically. And I still could not tell anybody. Okay, I had one best friend who knew just a little bit about what was going on. I'm digging into the inner part of your lives that you sit here and look good, but can't tell anyone about. You can't tell anyone about. My time is up. What did you say?
When we do the virtual ones? Don't worry.
My time is up. But my prayer for you, especially young women here, I became somebody who went from being willing to stay in a relationship that would, and my background, my parents were divorced, so I had a reason for being in that kind of relationship. I had stuff in my life. I became that person who would rather be in a relationship because the person is saying, I love you, and I would rather sacrifice my life, my destiny, my calling, my gifts, my talents on the altar of that relationship. And I moved into somebody who knows who she is, and who is able to say that marriage and love is not mutually exclusive with fulfilling my purpose and God's calling for my life. So as far as God wants me to go, I will go. I'm not going to dumb down for nothing. I'm not going to sacrifice who I am on the altar of anything. So I want you to make that decision. That's my last charge. That you will go on a journey of discovering who you are, who you really are, what your role and your contribution is to the world. Who are the persons waiting for you to speak to them? What impact are you meant to make on the world? What's your role? Because you have a role to play. So all those, my journeys and stories are turned into a message that we now share to young people. If you've never been in those places before, it helps you not to be there. And if you have been there, it gives you hope that you can come out of it and rise. So I want you to find yourself. Thank you very much. I'm going to totally recommend this book, Who Am I? I'm going to totally recommend it. I wrote this especially for young people. It's an identity book, so this is for the seekers. For those like I am who are saying there has to be more to life than this. This is for you. This is for the men. We won't delve into sexual addictions today. But I know if I speak in a room of 20 people, at least maybe 20% are struggling with sexual addictions. Both the guys and the ladies. So this is a 2-in-1 book, Chastity for Men and Chastity for Young Ladies. And you may ask, why did I write this? Because I struggled with sexual addictions for almost 8 years running, literally. It's 85%. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. The day you break the secrecy that puts you in there is the day you start, your freedom journey. So I want you to get it. And then this is for ladies who have been abused, maybe raped, maybe molested. It's a Christian fiction ebook, literally arising from a place of prayer. I was literally praying and feeling the pain of women who had been molested or raped, and they look good also, but on the inside are broken. I deal with a lot of inside stuff. So this is for you. And then I wanted to keep this book back because I was thinking, it may be a bit high-grade stuff, contending for kingdom wealth. But if you feel like you're someone who, Nigeria will say mullah, you're supposed to have a lot of mullah, money, to do things for God, then this book will be a good one for you. I think the small ones are supposed to be 1,000. But I don't know if that's a bit much. I'd like to give a discount. So the ones that are 1,000, especially this Who Am I, will give for 500. And this one, the Chastity for Men, is 1,500. I will give for 1,000. So if you want it, you can get it. Search for me on social media at Hephzibah Frances. I'd like to continue the conversation with those of you who may want to reach out to me. Please feel free. Thank you for the presentation.
So another point that you've learned is to be a leader.